Warning: this podcast may contain offensive language, harsh criticisms of religion, the occasional political rant, and science talk, which some see as alternative facts.
Now, I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion.
Welcome to the Recklessly Skeptical Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Matt.
This is Josh.
And I'm Joe.
Today is March 5th, 2017. Welcome to the show. Let's kick things off with a stolen thought. How's that sound, guys?
So good.
All right. Oh yeah, this is coming from Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, Origins, Chapter 1, In the Beginning. That's a awesome title. In the beginning, there was physics. Physics describes how matter, energy, space, and time behave and interact with one another. The interplay of these characters in our cosmic drama underlies all biological and chemical phenomena. Hence, everything fundamental and familiar to us, Earthlings, begins with and rests upon the laws of physics. End quote. Not Jesus.
The laws of physics. That sounds interesting.
You know, it's like verifiable stuff.
It's like the natural world.
Is there a Congress?
Instead of the
supernatural. So, Josh, you want to tell us how awesome Trump's doing?
Yeah, in just a moment. I actually remember how I referenced saying a quote last week that I never said.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I never said it, but it was important last week. It's about the free press. And this is a quote from Thomas Jefferson, and it's somewhat long, but I thought that I'll also throw in a stolen thought if that's okay with you two.
Oh, do it.
It's fine. But hey, afterwards, should we talk about Stitcher?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
actually,
yeah, we forgot to plug that.
Let's do that now. So, Matt, do you know... So Matt's a Stitcher user, so Matt might know better than anybody. I mean, all you do is search Recklessly Skeptical on Stitcher, right?
Yep. So we are now on Stitcher. We have also been on Spreaker, but I personally prefer Stitcher. So just download the app for free, type in Recklessly Skeptical, and you can find us right next to all your other favorite podcasts.
Yeah, and now we're going to, since we figured out how to do it on Stitcher, I think we can figure out how to do it on iTunes. So that'll be our next task.
But we're still on Spreaker, though, for the Spreaker listeners, correct?
Yeah, for the two of them, yes.
Oh,
Yes.
we only have two.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's actually been listened to a lot more than I thought, which was a few hundred times. But, yeah,
okay.
I mean, we get more clicks on YouTube easily than...
Oh, okay.
But Stitcher hopefully will help boost that.
Yep. So Stitcher, Spreaker, YouTube.
And
soon-
iTunes soon.
Yes. All right, so this is Thomas Jefferson. I have stated the constitutions of our several states vary more or less in some particulars, but there are certain principles in which we all agree, and which all cherish as vitally essential to the protection of life, liberty, property, and safety of the citizens. Freedom of the press, subject only to liability for personal injuries. This formidable censor of the public functionaries by arranging them at the tribunal of public opinions produces reform peacefully, which must otherwise be done by revolution. It is also the best instrument for enlightening the mind of man and improving him as a rational, moral, and social being. So, yeah, Donald Trump can go fuck himself.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to Gallup Daily.
Let's
All right.
see those numbers.
Yeah, so they're actually better for Trump than normal, but they're still not. There still would be the worst incoming president ever. Real unemployment is at 9.4%. It went up a little bit. Gallup Good Jobs Poll went up. Is at 44.7, meaning that went up a little bit. Engaged at work is 33.1, which went down a little bit. Economic confidence is at 17. Now that's really high comparatively. It was negative numbers for a bunch of Obama's presidency. Consumer spending is at 102, so the economy looks good. And then Trump's approval is up to 43%, and his disapproval is down to 51%. And this is primarily coming off of his speech, which we'll talk about later. But, yeah, I mean, right now things are looking good for Trump, and I don't think that's going to hold it. And I'll explain why with probably my last story. So, now, Joe,
Alrighty.
you got us something to go with?
Yeah, so looks like there was a bunch of stuff coming out of the conservative right-wing news sources, and so looks like we're going to break it for the left here.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This is a letter penned to
Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, Donald Trump by the Council for National Policy. It's a conservative group inside of the Senate. All right, so I'm going to kind of scan over the letter a little bit.
Okay.
Let's see here. Dear Mr. President, you are doing something rare in American politics. You are fulfilling campaign promises. We thank you especially for the steps you have already taken in your young administration to uphold our first freedom, the freedom of religion. We are writing to ask you that you continue these efforts to defend religious freedom by issuing an executive order protecting the practical exercise of religious freedom. For the last 8 years, Americans of all backgrounds have suffered the loss of their religious freedoms because of the destructive Obama-era policies.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah. We commend you for beginning to reverse the devastating trend. Okay, now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. While the media has largely passed over these comments, they have not escaped our notice. Thank you for being very clear about the importance of religious liberty. Naming the problem is the first step toward addressing it. In this vein, we look forward to addressing domestic threats against the religious freedom that still confront us. And so they list, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little issues. I want to kind of go over the issues.
Yeah, and there were actually 11. You skipped over the first 3.
Well, I skipped over the first 3 because...
Well, I'll just briefly read them. Or talk to him.
Okay.
The one is the Johnson Amendment. We've discussed that because he was talking. There's been talk about repealing it. The second one is rightly noted at the National Prayer Breakfast. Our republic was under God, so essentially, it's bringing God back into trying to reinforce their Christian beliefs about God on the national stage.
Oh, I didn't realize that's what that meant.
Yeah,
would have read it.
And then also. It's essentially talking about trying to separate themselves from Muslims, and so like essentially saying that they're wanting recognition that radical Islam is the problem. So again, more recognition towards that. But now go ahead with the other ones.
Okay, so let's see here. The first one, federal grants like World Vision, the Salvation Army, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, and Samaritan's Purse face the prospect of the government forcing them to violate their faith or give up their role serving the disadvantaged and poor around the world. Adoption providers such as Bethany Christian Services and Catholic Charities have been forced out of Massachusetts, Illinois, and D.C. because they are committed to placing needy children with a married mom and dad. The Obama administration Solicitor General declared before the Supreme Court that religious schools that fail to embrace the court's redefinition of marriage could see their tax-exempt status fall into jeopardy. Schools like Gordon College and Brigham Young University Law School have had their accreditation come under scrutiny because of their beliefs about marriage, and their threat of federal action against religious schools remains. Service members like Navy Chaplain Wes Motter have been disciplined for counseling according to their Christian beliefs about natural marriage. And it just goes off like this for a little bit. But the thing is, a lot of these Christian conservatives don't understand that their religious freedom isn't being attacked. They can go pray at home. They can go do whatever they want.
And they can still believe that marriage is between a man and a woman because
Yeah.
almost more than half of these points are about that.
Yeah, and they can still believe that. But once you go out into the public and you start preaching that to people who may not have the same beliefs as you, that's when religious freedom is being attacked, and you're the one who's doing the attacking. You're attacking other people's beliefs when you go out there and say, no, this is the case. This is how it is. My Bible says so. And it's like, no, you are the one doing the attacking. The chaplain, he was a service member like Navy Chaplain Wes Motter, has been disciplined for counseling according to their Christian beliefs about natural marriage. That's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have to say about it, Matt?
I think it's the tax dollars. So they say they're being attacked because they're losing tax-exempt status or losing tax dollars in some way. But if you were breaking the law,
Yeah.
then you shouldn't have your tax-exempt status, or you shouldn't receive tax dollars. If you want to have certain beliefs and certain rules in your little group that goes against the law, well then that's fine as long as you're not getting tax dollars or getting tax breaks. And that's why they're bitching, is because they want to keep their bigoted views, but they still want to have a tax break or get tax dollars.
Well, and some of this is more nefarious than that, because I think that on one of them it's actually talking about what is it called, the therapy that they use to try and make gay people straight that doesn't work. What is it called? Yeah, it's just gay conversion therapy is the name of it. But yeah, I mean, they do terrible things, including electroshock therapy, trying to make somebody who is has same-sex attractions like all of a sudden switch to having opposite sex attractions, which is not how the brain works. It's not how the body works. It's not how a mind works. So.
It reminds me of early day lobotomies. You know, oh, this person has an attitude problem. Let's cut out part of their brain.
Yeah,
and I've heard accounts of the person who is conducting the therapy sessions.
Yeah,
they will get naked with the gay person, and they will hug each other and like cuddle, and it's trying to make it so that person like stops the attraction.
Well, like,
so it's like I'm pretty sure the guy conducting it is gay as well.
Most of them are rehabilitated gay people.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I'm a rehabilitated, and that's in quotes, gay person conducting gay therapy sessions, and I'm getting the gay guy to get naked and cuddle with me.
But
so he won't be gay anymore.
If that was the most nefarious thing that they were doing, I mean, like, there's stories that I've read where people, what they'll do is they'll play gay porn, and then they'll also, like, harm the person to try and traumatize this out of them. Like,
while the gay porn is playing?
While the gay porn, so that the person, if they have same-sex thoughts, or if they're turned on by, like, the gay porn that they're watching, then they'll be harmed by it. Like, so they try and associate pain with being gay, and I mean, it literally is traumatizing. Like,
I imagine
that's
that
the point of
causes
it.
some sort of other underlining issues with that person, because you can't just not, make somebody, straight. So I imagine a lot of those people will continue to go on living their lives as they normally do, but then maybe there's some sort of sadistic aspect to it now because of the gay conversion therapy.
Yeah, and there have been. So one story I heard in law class about a lady who was charged with sexual assault of a minor or something to that effect.
Yeah.
She grew up in this backwards way where she had a mental deficiency, so she had to deal with it, and the way, so they were put in a home together, and I mean, the idea at the time is that mentally deficient people were always wanting to have sex, and so what they would do is they would cause harm to their bodies. They would associate physical pain to their bodies, and so this mom of this her son was also a special needs person, and so what happened is that when she found out that he was sexually active, she took his penis and dragged it out and took some barbed tool and ran it against his penis to harm him, and she didn't know any better. Like, that's just how, like, they were punished so brutally. They were brutalized because of their sexual activity. And so, like, that carries on, and it leaves a traumatic effect, and then it causes more trauma. Like, this sort of thing breeds only negative results.
Yeah.
And so...
Damn, that is fucked up.
Yeah, and that's just one thing that can happen. And of course, most people are able to put things together and realize, oh, hey, the people who were in charge of me at that time were fucked up people. But, I mean... some of these things have a long-lasting effect intergenerationally. It's like people who are children of abusive parents tend to be more likely to be abusive.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's how they were raised. That's what they knew. So I just can't imagine any good coming from this.
So, yeah, I'm just sick of hearing these Christians say that they're being attacked. Their religious freedom is being attacked. No, you have all the right to practice your religion. You just can't force it onto other people. And if you own a corporation and you want your religious freedom in that, if you're a business owner or whatever, fine, but don't expect not to be fined. Don't expect tax exempts. Just you're not above the law. You're not just because you have your God doesn't mean that you are protected by some higher power. No, you must follow the laws. You must not push your shit on other people. There's plenty of people in the United States, and not all of them are Christian.
Yeah, and the Bible even says so. And the Bible says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. As in the laws of man are you act within the laws of man, and then if you want to praise God behind that, then you're welcome to. But, yeah, I mean, the Bible doesn't even support this type of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, in the Bible, too, it says if you pray, go to your closet, shut the door, and pray in secret. Don't pray in public. Don't be praying in schools. You know, it doesn't say that in the Bible. It says pray in secret.
Yeah.
Alrighty, is that it, Joe?
Yep, that's it.
All right, so Ken Ham,
Oh, yeah.
the Ark encounter in Kentucky. So I'm going to read the title of the article, and you guys tell me if you're surprised or not. So the Ark encounter is not living up to economic promises.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
So Kentucky's Grant County Judge Executive Steve Wood said during a recent budget meeting that Ken Ham's Ark encounter is great. But it hasn't brought us any money. Last year, the mayor of Williamstown made this same complaint. Only 600 people showed up to the ribbon-cutting ceremony on Friday for the attraction's new exhibit, Why the Bible is True. Ham still believes the park is going to hit the 1.4 to 2.2 million visitors goal by the end of the year, saying that they are getting so many calls a day that they can't keep up with it. For some reason, I sense that's bullshit.
I sense a bunch of prank callers.
Yeah, or here's this: you only hire one person. It's hard to keep up with 20 phone calls a day.
Yeah.
However, even if the park does hit its goal, Grant County is still suffering. The county is on the brink of bankruptcy, and many had hoped that the Ark encounter would help boost the local economy. The truth is, it hasn't. Ham had promised hotels would come to the region, major chain restaurants, and more. None of this has happened. The county is now looking at passing a 2% payroll tax on all county workers to help balance the budget. Wood said he believed the park could help them. Quote, I was one of those believers that once the Ark was here, everything was going to come in. But it's not done it. It's not done it. I think the Ark's done well, and I'm glad for them on that, but it's not done us good at all. End
so
quote.
When he said he thought everything was going to come in, he meant 2 of every animal, correct? And it didn't happen?
It didn't. The county gave Ham a $74 million land grant for the park, and it appears they won't get anything in return. Ham sold them a great lie like he does his followers. Unfortunately, it will be the citizens of Grant County who suffer while Ham counts his cash.
See, and this is another reason why there needs to be a separation of church and state. You know, the state should not be giving people like this grants for religious crap that not everyone believes in, you know?
And the
taxpayers are getting fucked because of this.
And to work there, you have to sign a form that says you're a Christian. So tax dollars went to pay for this, but then they aren't hiring all citizens. You have to be a Christian.
You see, and that's dumb, because I imagine there's got to be at least one atheist in that county who his tax dollars went to pay for that fucking thing, and then he can't even get a fucking job there.
Well, yeah, and this is what causes
he or she.
This is what causes him or her to lie on applications. So that's the thing. Part of it is that the reason that they have these types of standards, or that they want them to, is they want the atheists, the homosexuals, they want everybody who is that. Like, they don't care if they get hired. They just want them to stay in the closet.
Yeah.
Because once these things come out of the closet and they find out that their friend or neighbor or loved one is an atheist or has a same-sex attraction, hopefully if you're a loved one you would know that, but it's infuriating. Like, that's part of the strategy, is to sweep anything under the rug. And there will be a movie that I do. I'm planning on getting back on YouTube soon. There's going to be a movie I do where, like, what's his name? William Lane Craig. He gets in a debate with Christopher Hitchens, and then when Christopher Hitchens says, I'm an atheist, that means that I don't believe in or I don't have a belief that there is a positive belief that there is a God. And then William Lane Craig stands there and is like, oh, you're not talking about atheism. You're like an atheist. It's like, no fucking shit, Sherlock. An atheist, what you're saying is an atheist is what an atheist actually is.
Yeah.
So,
theist.
Yeah. And it's just this most incredible moment I've ever seen in a debate ever, where William Lane Craig is acting like he doesn't know what an atheist is. And I don't know, maybe he's being honest. Maybe he doesn't think that atheists have this positive belief, or he thinks that all atheists have this positive belief that God isn't there. But it'll be interesting. Sorry, little side tangent.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, so hopefully something good can come out of this. I don't see any good coming out of it, but
I see some good coming out of it. These people,
well, not for the citizens. I don't know.
But the people who were like, I was a believer that this is going to be something good, are now going to wake up to the fact that guess what? You got fleeced.
And I hope someone in Grant County who lives there, who might be an atheist or whatever, you know what? If you can lie on your application, get a job there, and get a hold of some like atheist pamphlets, you know, maybe go around replacing them inside of the ark and stuff. That would be extremely funny.
Yeah.
Or anyone who's planning on going there. If you're an atheist, you know, let's do some pranks.
But this isn't even an atheist thing. Like it's here's the basics of evolution. Like I would prefer science-minded people to be science pamphlets to be put there to question it.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, it's seriously a waste of time. 600 people at a cutting ribbon ceremony is not worth busing to Kentucky to protest.
I've seen pictures, like aerial pictures, and it's a huge parking lot, and there's no cars in it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
It's like Trump's inauguration. Hey, so speaking of Ken Ham, that reminds me of Bill Nye. Did you guys see that interview with Bernie Sanders and Bill Nye? Two of my favorite people hanging out, talking. It gave me goosebumps.
It was
good.
It was a 40-minute interview. I only was able to watch like 2 minutes on my phone, but yeah, I'll need to do that.
It's really good. They talk about climate change and all that stuff, but I don't know. Two of my favorite people sitting down having a conversation. It was really cool. I just wanted to point that out real quick. So, and any of our listeners, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you can Google Senator Bernie Sanders, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and it'll come up.
All right, and the story that I want to cover first is actually about Donald Trump's speech to joint members of Congress. So he had this speech and he gave it, and he sounded presidential. He read off a teleprompter for once, which made his speech sound more presidential because there's no way that his off-the-handle things sound anything presidential at all.
Or coherent.
Yeah, and 74% of the people who listened to it and responded to a survey said he did a good job, which means that there were Democrats who thought he did a good job. And a lot of pundits came out and said, oh, he sounds presidential. It looks like he's turned a new leaf. And it's like, we've heard this fucking story before. He's the stuff that the substance of his speech was just as ugly as it's ever been. He gave no substantial, actually, like policy ideas. So he's just giving fluff to the media because they're so hungry just to say something good about him. So they sound like they're being objective or neutral or whatever, because the media is tired of getting hounded by Trump's followers saying, oh, you're the fake news, blah, 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 blah. And so they fall into line behind the speech. And it's just the most ridiculous thing. And now I want to bring up this Trevor Noah clip because I think that he summed it up extremely well.
Genius to figure out that Donald Trump is playing you. You look at his record. You can study his previous actions. Or you know what else you could do? You could just listen to him when he tells you that he's going to fake it.
I can act as presidential as anybody that's ever been president.
Presidential's easy. You know what presidential is? I walk on. Here's what Ladies and gentlemen of Waterbury, it is a great honor to be with you this morning.
Yeah. Fake like you're presidential, and people will believe you're presidential. This was the plan all along. And last night was clearly its big debut.
But yeah, I mean, so the people, just so you know, the listener, the people who were laughing, that was not Trevor Noah's audience when Donald Trump was talking. It was Donald Trump's audience laughing at the fact that he can pretend to be presidential.
Yeah.
And it's all just a big game.
Yeah, I mean, so there's not... I don't know how people are swayed by one teleprompter speech to Congress, and there's nothing good about it. He went and he used the the wife of a dead soldier to try and bolster the speech, because he knew that would be the headline. Like, it would take all of the attention off of him and be like, oh, look at all this honor that he gave to the soldier that he killed because he ordered a thing to go through that wasn't well planned. And that's how he died. And so he brought the widow, that soldier's widow, on stage and made a big point with her. So, I mean, how do you feel about that, Matt?
I mean, it just goes to show you what he's been doing the whole time. And that clip that you played was from a while ago. He's been fake the whole time, just like we talked about before. After he became president, he's like, that drain the swamp stuff, I didn't like it, but it caught on. I'm not gonna throw Hillary in jail. He's just full of shit.
For sure. All right, Joe.
All right, guys. Do you know how much the U.S. spends on our defense?
I'm guessing it's a lot of money.
Our defense budget is bigger than any other countries in the world,
it's
correct?
Like the next 7 combined.
Yeah, the next 7 combined. Okay? I got some good news for you guys. All right. Trump to propose a $54 billion defense increase. That's a lot of fucking money, and we're already spending more than the other 7 countries combined.
Yeah, isn't that the almost to the dollar the same amount that Bernie Sanders would have needed to pay for free college for everyone?
Yeah. But yeah, okay, yeah, let's just spend it on, our defense.
I love that Republicans always call our media or our military depleted.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not.
All right, so President Trump's budget will propose a $54 billion increase in defense spending while slashing domestic programs by the same amount. Okay, the president told the nation's governors on Monday that his plan puts America first and that we're going to do more with less and make the government lean and accountable to the people. That's my best Trump voice. I know it's not very. I've never tried to do a Trump voice because I don't really care to.
It's tremendous. Let me tell you, it's tremendous.
We're going to make America great again, or whatever.
That's like if Trump and I don't know, Obama had a child together.
Yeah,
because it's too low and it's too slow.
Would it? I'm trying to imagine what color that would be, like an orange black, like a black with an orange.
It would just be a fucking pumpkin. Let's just go with that.
Okay, an official with the White House Office of Management and Budget, who spoke to reporters, only if not named, said most agencies will see budget cuts, including foreign aid, which comprises less than 1% of the federal spending. Let's see here. I'm going to skip ahead. New Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney told reporters on Monday that the president's blueprint was essentially taking words and turning them into policies and dollars. It's a true America First budget. Mulvaney said, though, he's stressed that this is not a full budget proposal, which won't come until May. So we have time to try to stop it. Everybody used to say America was never lost a war, he said, adding, now we never win and don't fight to win. So they're spending more money so we can win these wars.
But didn't he say we're going to do more with less?
Yeah.
So how do you do more with less when you're adding more stuff?
Yeah, I don't get it. So let's see here. It's unclear
It's
what the
incoherent.
overall impact of Trump's plan will be on the federal budget deficit, while the proposed military buildup may be offset by domestic spending cuts. The size and nature of the yet-to-be-released tax reform proposal will determine the deficit picture. A $54 billion defense increase? Seriously?
I saw a tweet. Somebody was bitching about, liberals bitching about this. It was like, oh, you guys bitch about $54 billion for the military increase, but you're okay with Bernie spending, $75 billion for the free college. And somebody replied and was like, yeah, my wife bitches at me because I bought a $54 samurai sword, but God, she spent $75 on groceries.
Yeah, that's
like
dumb.
You don't need the samurai sword, but you need groceries.
Yeah. Like our people here in the United States needs They need education.
Oh, God,
you need
yes, we do.
education in order to get a better job and
just to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and to make the because the more educated you are, the more you can do, and the more you're willing to think and process information and have reasonable conversations and make the world a better place. And we're already spending more than the 7 top other countries combined in our military defense. We don't need to be spending anymore,
Yeah,
really.
we don't need military bases all over the fucking globe. You know? The way the military industrial complex is intertwined with the right and the left, but mainly the right, is just sickening in a sense. We are killing people all over the globe in the name of patriotism and spreading democracy.
But really, when all we're doing is taking their natural resources
and making the people who make the bombs and make the tanks and make the jets here in America, we're making them rich.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I thought of a policy that would possibly stop war or this unnecessary war. I mean, it's too late now, but it'd be funny to tie all military spending to taxes on businesses, especially the Fortune 500, so that only the Fortune 500 would have to pay for any money spent on increase in military spending, and then that would cause there to be like this civil war internally between the industrial complex and the Fortune 500 companies, and so we would not see the tax dollars go up.
Oh, and I guarantee we would see a new peace come over the world.
I think another one. It's probably quite a bit more far-fetched than your proposal, but I think if you are an elected official and you vote for war, you have to go.
Yeah, I don't see that ever happening. It'd be nice though, but
it would be nice. I think you'd see a lot less war.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Alrighty, so we talked.
The rich wage war, it's the poor that die.
Yeah.
Yep. We talked about this individual before when she was elected, but now she's in the news again. So an atheist elected official in Vermont is being criticized for not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Hartford, Vermont, select woman Rebecca White, a 22-year-old atheist member of the local government, is facing a lot of criticism for the silliest of reasons. She stands for the Pledge of Allegiance at meetings, but doesn't actually say the words. This is from her. I was raised as a Buddhist, said White. My mom and we had a really open discussion about it. She said, if you want, you can say the pledge, but you don't have to. I choose not to say the under God piece because it didn't reflect me. White, who now regards herself as an atheist, is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Heartland, said she understands that not saying the pledge can be offensive to some people, but that she's not being intentionally provocative. I don't want to say something that makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable because of a religious belief, she said. It's not because I don't value the contribution made by veterans and folks in the armed forces. There's nothing wrong with that explanation whatsoever. If you don't believe in God, then saying we're a nation under God makes no sense. If you don't believe we truly have justice for all in this country, then saying we do is a little more than wishful thinking. But White doesn't stop others from saying the pledge, and she hasn't tried to replace it with a moment of silence. She just doesn't participate in it herself, and that's infuriating to local Christians who demand lip service to symbols.
It's true.
You want to say something, Josh?
No.
Your head is shaking over there.
Yeah.
See, and that the Christians, I imagine a lot of them think that's attack on their religious freedom, and it's like, no, you're attacking someone else's religious freedom by getting mad that they're not following along to your little fucking footsteps.
She stands up, she puts her hand on her heart, and closes her eyes. That's what she does.
Yeah.
She's not interfering with anybody else.
Yeah.
She's just not over there mumbling the words to herself.
Yeah. And so and I imagine Christians all over the fucking place. Oh, she's attacking my religious freedom. No, you're attacking hers by getting upset that she doesn't want to fucking say under God that's about your God.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. That's part of what I was thinking. But I hate fucking nationalism just as much as I hate the blind faith in whatever. Like standing up, I'm going to teach, if I ever have a kid, I'm going to make sure that they know that the Pledge of Allegiance is optional. They don't have to stand for it. They don't have to do anything for it. Waving some flag does not make you an American patriot. I mean, it's the laziest form of patriotism that you can talk about too. Like, oh, I'm not going to fight for this country, but I'm going to have a U.S. flag and a Confederate flag and say that I'm a good fucking American. It's unnecessary. It's stupid. It's not productive. It doesn't do anything. Like, if you want to go and help Americans, then go and spend time at the VA hospital. Go and serve food to poor people. Go and do something that actually betters this country, and then have some pride in your patriotism.
And what makes you a real patriot, along with what you're saying, is trying to make this country better. And that includes pointing out the negative things of this country. You know, a lot of people want to protest or point out negative things, and they are attacked as unpatriotic. No, they are patriotic because they're trying to make this country better.
And one thing I want to add to that is, if you protest and you don't vote, then fuck you. Like,
you better vote.
Yeah, if you protest and don't vote, then the whole reason you protest is to make people consciously aware of the power that they have.
Yeah.
And most of that power is summarized in the opportunity to vote. So if you're going to protest, at least vote.
And then also I want to point out about waving your Confederate flag. I don't know if you guys know, but a couple of people, this man and woman, were arrested a while ago during that whole let's drive our trucks around waving our Confederate flags. And it was down south. Well, while they're driving around waving their Confederate flag, drinking beer and being super patriotic, they drove through a neighborhood where a black family was having a birthday party for one of their kids, and they hopped out with their shotguns and pointed it at the kids and the family, and they were yelling at them, calling them the N-word and whatnot. And they were just sentenced, I think, 15 years.
Yeah, they had the book thrown at them, and that's a good thing. I mean, because it sends a message. Like, you can't fucking drive around neighborhoods with guns and terrorize people and not expect to have ramifications, because that is terrorism.
Yeah,
like it's not terrorism in the traditional way that we've been raised to think of terrorism, where it always has to be a jihadi and it always has to be a pro-Muslim attack on American values, or whatever the fuck that means.
And I think they were charged with some sort of terrorist.
Yeah, they were charged under a terrorism statute. Yes.
Okay, cool.
All right, from the article. White's decision not to say the pledge has only recently led her Facebook critics to insult her as a disgusting person who should be ashamed. But it has been noticed among some area veterans since 2015, when she first won the post by eking out a 593 to 580 vote or victory over Mike Morris, who won the seat in 2016. She stands and she places her hand over her heart and she closes her eyes, said Lanny Collins, a 50-year-old technical instructor at the Thayer School of Engineering, who often offers pointed comments to the select board on a variety of issues. Collins said White's lack of forgiveness offends him as a Christian, and her refusal to say the pledge offends him as a 20-year veteran. I was very offended, said Collins, a member of Hanover's Christ Redeemer Church. I believe if you don't say it, it's disrespectful for all of those who have died.
And see, I would like to get his thoughts on Trump's closeness to, because he's coming from an era where not praying or not being Christian was an attack on American values, or at least that's what they were told growing up, because of the Cold War. And so I wonder what he thinks about how cozy the Trump administration is with Russia.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably bitched about Bernie Sanders being a communist, but now, you got Trump's administration, like you said, close to Russia, and Hillary's administration would have been probably just as close to Russia as Trump's.
No, she wasn't cozy with Russia. She had a lot of faults, but that was not one of them.
I believe Russia donated to the Clinton Foundation, and they received plutonium or uranium from.
I would want to see a story substantiating that, but I don't buy into that, because that
you
would
think
be.
It's like probably just propaganda, or
it sounds like it could be. I mean, you can't exchange. How would the Hillary campaign have plutonium?
Well, she or uranium, and from what I've read, they donated to the Clinton Foundation while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State or whatever.
But, I mean, so maybe so there are. I'm sure that there are Russians who have donated to the Clinton Foundation. Like, that doesn't seem absurd at all. But to have her turn around and let the Russians have uranium, I think that would be pretty huge. That would be news story. That would be huge on the news. But they already have uranium plants. They're allowed. They're not one of the ones that's not allowed to enrich uranium, like Iran. They can enrich uranium, so I don't know why they wouldn't just mine it themselves and enrich it themselves.
I'm snoping it.
Oh, well, I mean, let's move forward. Let's put that idea on on pause, and then we'll get to it later. That sounds a little absurd.
All right. So when Collins is willing to say a pledge with the words, "We're a nation under no God," I'll take his whining more seriously. Until then, he has everything backwards. Veterans died to protect our right to free speech, including acts of protest. Forcing people to say a pledge against their will sounds like the very thing our troops have always fought against. There's a little more to the article, but I think that pretty much sums it up. And I hope she keeps doing what she's doing.
Yeah, I mean, she has the right to say or not say any pledge that she wants, and there have been a lot of people. It's becoming more common for people not to swear an oath on the Bible.
Yep. You go, Rebecca White from Vermont.
Yeah, we should go and message her and say, "Good job, keep up the work," to have positive things along with the negative trolls. All right. So my next story, you guys will get a kick out of this because if you haven't heard it, it's astounding. The headline is Briarwood Presbyterian Church asks for its own police department.
Yes, I did hear about this.
Yes, and this is posted on February 17th by Greg Garrison on Alabama. I want to say Alabama Times, but it's alabama.com. Briarwood Presbyterian Church and Briarwood Christian School wants their own police department, and in a bill proposing it passed 9-2. The House Public and Safety Committee on Thursday, Briarwood's attorney said. The same bill passed last year, but got to the governor late and never received a signature, said Attorney Eric Johnston, who drafted the bill for the church. Johnston said he expects the bill to pass both the House and the Senate, and believes Governor Rob Bentley will sign it into law. Some critics of the bill have questioned why the church and school needs a police department, but it is essentially a way of hiring a police officer full-time as opposed to relying on off-duty police officers to assist the church, Johnson said. We have over 30,000 events taking place here, going on all day and night, and at the church and at the seminary. We have to hire a policeman at the same time. It would make it much easier to have someone on staff. So, Matt, what's your initial thought? What was your thought when you initially heard this story?
It's ridiculous. So a couple things. They could have a security guard. They don't actually need a police officer. Maybe they could get a police officer from the city, but a security group would be just fine. You can hire private security guards, and they could come in and do rotations. You can get 2 of them. But to have your own police force as a church is insane. Are they going to be arresting people for apostasy? Or, if you have your own police force, what laws are they going to enforce? And if one church gets a police force, then another church can get a police force, and then another church. What are we going to have all these roving church police forces roaming the streets, arresting people for apostasy? It's weird.
Yeah, and it's not in this story, but I heard a quote where essentially, to summarize, they asked who would the police force answer to, and it was to church officials. Now, and that's where I get really sketchy. And like the Briarwood police force can go ahead and assign a police officer or 2 police officers or whatever from their own jurisdiction to these events. Like there doesn't need to be a police force specific to this church. And again, like if these police officers they can act outside of the law in the sense that they can they would be able to hassle anybody they thought that was doing something immoral. So if it's like them hiring within the church, then they hire someone who has the same beliefs and they find 2 guys making out or whatever. I mean, then they can go and hassle them, and they can do so carrying a badge and a gun as a police force, where there's no law in the book or no legal laws on the book that say that's legal.
And if they arrest people, do they take them to the county jail, or do they build a little jail in their church?
So this one they did clarify that. So I would, to be fair to the news story, It would not involve a jail or other facilities. Basically, an officer and an official car, he said. I couldn't imagine it would be something more than that. If there was any arrest on campus, the local jurisdiction would be called, and they would come pick up the person.
So it's like I said in the beginning. They just need a security guard.
Yeah.
They don't need a fucking police force.
Exactly. And that's so weird to have a police force answering to church officials.
Yeah, that doesn't... It doesn't make
weird.
sense. Again, separation of church and state. There's your church, and then your state. Yeah, if they're answering to church officials, that's putting the church in charge of like a state policy.
Yes.
Which is the exact meaning of separation of church and state. That's where we need walls, because your church can't dictate how people live their lives. You know, that's what that means, people. Separation of church and state means any church out there in the United States cannot dictate how someone else lives their life.
Yes. All right. I think that's all I got, Joe, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. So this is coming from normal.org. All right. And
Normal.
Normal, and it's about Jeff Sessions.
He's my favorite.
Alternative fact. Marijuana causes violence. Speaking to the press this evening, so this came from February 27th. Speaking to the press this evening, Attorney General Jeff Sessions doubled down on the infamous reefer madness rhetoric. Remember how recently he also said some other stuff. We're seeing real violence around that. Experts are telling me that there's more violence around marijuana than one would think, and there's a big money involved. Sessions' latest comments describe a reality that only exists in the world of alternative facts. Marijuana legalization has not led to increased crime or violence, but rather is associated with lowered youth rates, lowered youth use rates, and access, increased tax revenue, and fewer arrests of otherwise law-abiding American citizens. The truth is that legalization is working as voters have intended on, and that the new U.S. Attorney General's opinions are reckless, irresponsible, and outright false. Because, and I saw another meme the other day, drug dealers, and I think a lot of dispensaries have been saying this, drug dealers don't card, we do.
Yeah, of course they don't.
You know, and
he's full of shit. He's absolutely full of shit.
And that's the thing. He's getting a lot of pushback. And I love seeing that. A lot of these people, when it comes to marijuana, like a lot of the states are standing up and penning letters to Sessions and the Department of Justice and stuff. A lot of the mayors and elected officials are pushing back against them, and it's good, and I like seeing that. And a lot of these people like Sessions are being called out on the bullshit that they're saying. You know, when they say stuff like that, people are going, actually that's not true, and they're standing up for it, which I think is incredible. Which they should continue to do. And that's another thing. If you see someone talking about facts that aren't real, you know, like if I talk about facts that aren't real and someone points it out to me, I'll go, okay, I'll check into it. I'll research it some more and get to the bottom of it. You should be able to point it out to people. You know, you should be able to point it out to people. So
yep. Truth.
And that's another thing.
Above feel goods.
And if you're the one who's saying stuff that's wrong, and someone points out to you that you're saying something that's wrong, you know, just be like, okay, and research it some more. Don't automatically fight and argue because your feel-goods might get hurt. So
yeah, and I was going to interrupt, but I didn't. I was going to say, oh yeah, and he backed that up with facts and polling evidence, scientific polls, right?
No, he didn't. No, he
really?
Didn't. Yeah, actually, the polls and the scientific evidence suggests
the opposite.
The opposite of that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right. Indiana House passes bill that would put prayer back in schools.
Oh, my God.
So I read this story earlier today, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So you guys chime in, okay?
Okay.
So Indianapolis, a legislative proposal whose author says it would put prayer back in schools, has cleared the Indiana House. House Bill 1024, written by Democratic Representative John Bartlett of Indianapolis, directs school corporations to adopt policies allowing students to pray aloud at school events. He argues it would not mandate that students pray in school, but would affirm their right to do so. Bill opponents question whether it's needed because freedom of religion is already acknowledged in schools. Some argue it could cause harm by identifying some students as non-religious if they choose not to participate. The bill cleared the House 83-12 on Monday and now moves to the Senate for consideration. It also encourages high schools to offer classes on world religions and affirms students' right to wear religious clothing or jewelry.
See, yeah, and that reminds me, back in middle school, I used to wear satanic clothes, back in middle school. And I remember walking down the hall and having the vice principal come up to me, and he's like, "Hey, you can't wear that." And I asked him why. And he's all, "Well, it's offensive to others." And I'm like, "See that?" Right as a Hispanic person walked by with a picture of
Probably the Virgin Mary.
The Virgin Mary on his shirt. And I was like, that's offensive to me. So if I have to take off my religious clothing, he needs to take off his religious clothing. I don't want to see any crosses. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that, because it's fair. And praying in school, that's not fair. Here, I would like to read something.
Well, prayer is allowed in schools. You just can't have mandated.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I had Matt pull up the actual wording of the digest of the actual House bill, because usually like these things that seem like they're not a big deal up front, they have usually something in it. And I found it about halfway through. It's a long paragraph on the digest version of it. And it says, requires a school or corporation or charter school to adopt a policy that must include the establishment of a limited public forum for student speakers who wish to include religious content at all school events at which student is allowed to publicly speak. What this means...
They're leading in prayer, right?
Yeah, so it's not just leading in prayer, but they have to allow for religious people to speak before any school event. So what it is it's a way to so it doesn't force anybody to pray or force anybody to agree with the speaker, but it now gives a platform to include religious speakers. Like, so say I was a high school student and I wanted my preacher to say something before the football game. It says that I must be allowed to have that happen. That's the part that it doesn't talk about in the article that actually matters.
I would like to read something and point out the hypocrisy of Christian theologists. Can I do that?
I guess so.
This is coming from the Bible, okay? Matthew 6:6. Let's read the King James version of it. But thou...
That's not the real one, Joe.
But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father, which is in secret, and thy Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward thee openly. Let's read another one. New International Version, Matthew 6:6.
Hey, Joe, that's the right one.
Oh, okay. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. I don't really see anywhere in the Bible where it says make sure you pray in school in front of everybody. I don't...
Get up on a podium and say it really loud.
Yeah,
and force other people to listen to it.
In fact, most of the stuff in the Bible says pray in secret because it's a private thing to do and it needs to be private. But I guess Christians don't like to follow the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Only if it has to do with something they're trying to
like
get.
hating gays.
Like hating gays, but hell, in the same book or the same chapter where you hate gays, you can't eat bacon. But I'm sure there's plenty of people walking around eating bacon and sausage, hating gays on the same day.
Bacon is so good.
So don't fucking. Here's the thing: if you're gonna follow your fucking book and praise your book and believe in your book, follow everything in that fucking book. Oh, you can't because you'll end up in jail by the end of the day? Yeah, I guess maybe you shouldn't. So don't fucking cherry pick and try to put other things on other people who don't believe in your fucking book.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. Rant, man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for us, Josh?
All right. So this is just a short report put together by, I guess, the Resistance Report. And it's not... If it was an opinion thing, because I don't know who this is, I probably wouldn't read it. But this is about, like, what's going on. And this is essentially just a report on what the House is trying to pass, while everybody is focused on Russia and the media on Trump and all that sort of a thing.
And Obama now.
Yeah, and now Obama. But and we'll cover that in a minute. But I just wanted to shortly state like the bills that are going through the Senate right now. H.R. 861 to terminate the Environmental Protection Agency. Essentially, this bill either will eliminate the Environmental Protection Agency or defund any ability to enforce it. So H.R. 610, tax dollars for private schools. H.R. 899 to terminate the Department of Education, get rid of it altogether. H.J.R. 69 to repeal a rule protecting wildlife. H.R. 370, repeal the Affordable Care Act. H.R. 354, defunding Planned Parenthood. H.R. 785, National Right to Work legislation, this essentially is trying to make it so that it's harder to unionize and use unions to protect workers. H.R. 83, Mobilizing Against Sanctuary Cities Act. H.R. 147, to criminalize abortion. So those are the bills that are right now going to the House. And what they'll do is, on that last one, they'll target doctors who perform abortions. And they'll make it so that it's a states level thing. So there you go. Those are the bills that are currently being worked on by our Congress.
Wow.
I don't know. Just sometimes I'm kind of blown away by these bills that are even presented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and these are all bills that have been written down and are in Congress in some form or another and may end up on the president's desk.
Yeah. Because they're trying to get rid of so many important things there. You know?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Important things that protect the little guy, certain things that protect I don't know. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
All right, so I got a story coming from Science Alert.
Dun, 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 dun.
Joe,
I'm gonna stop singing.
Science. Joe.
I'm gonna stop singing.
See, I said Joe at a different tempo, and I said it 47 times.
Yeah. So it's not the same. It's not the same. All right, so SpaceX this is coming from, again, February 27th. SpaceX just announced it's sending 2 private citizens to the moon. Rocket science isn't easy. Ask any engineer. Rocket science isn't cheap. Just ask NASA. Fortunately, in recent years, a number of commercial space flight companies have stepped up to the plate in order to help national space agencies extend their reach into the final frontier. Innovation companies like Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin have accelerated the development of reusable rockets exponentially. In so doing, they have dramatically reduced the cost of leaving our pale blue dot, improving both our ability to explore the cosmos and scientists' capacity to conduct research beyond Earth. To be more specific, in 2012, SpaceX became the first private space company to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. Previously, the monumental feat was something that had only been achieved by world governments. At the present time, the company is working on the Crew Dragon, a next-generation spacecraft that is designed to ferry humans to the ISS. One day, SpaceX even plans to land on Mars, and if Musk has anything to say about it, humans will be on the Red Planet, possibly living there for good in the next decade or so. Ultimately, private spaceflight companies are leading our charge into the cosmos. This is because successfully reusing boosters is a critical part of bringing down the cost of launches, and it's something that the world's governments have failed to produce. With this technology, we won't have to build a completely new rocket for every single mission, according to SpaceX President Gwen Shotwell. Reusability could lower the cost of rocket launches by a staggering 30%. A fuel reusable vehicle is the fundamental breakthrough needed to revolutionize access to space. Sorry, I'm going to skip ahead. It's a long article. All right, so like the Apollo astronauts before them, these individuals will travel in space carrying the hopes and dreams of all humankind, driven by the universal human spirit of exploration. SpaceX also outlined the nature of the project and clarified the timeline. SpaceX has been approached to fly 2 private citizens on a trip around the moon late next year. They have already paid a significant deposit to do a moon mission. We expect to conduct health and fitness tests as well as begin initial training later this year. Other flight teams have also expressed strong interest, and we expect more to follow. Additional information will be released about the flight teams, contingent upon their approval and confirmation of the health and fitness test results. To break this down, to begin, SpaceX plans to launch the Crew Dragon version 2 spacecraft to the ISS without people on board this year, and then a subsequent mission with crew will fly in the second quarter of 2018. From there, the company will head to the moon, an important milestone as they work towards the ultimate goal, transporting humans to Mars. So, it's pretty cool. It's way cool.
Yeah. It's exciting.
I fucking love space. I love space. I love seeing our new technologies. I love it when we find new planets, when we, space, the final frontier.
Yeah.
To explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization. I'm sorry. It's just so awesome.
One of my favorite things
Kinda
is
geek out
looking
on
at pictures from Hubble.
Yeah, like the
they're
nebulas
amazing.
and it's incredible.
Dude, when the new telescope goes up, it's just gonna trump anything we've seen from Hubble. Like, it's gonna be
Does that
incredible.
mean it's going to have small hands?
No? Donald Tiny Hands Trump.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really cool. I can't wait.
So, going to my last story, and I think this is the last story of the podcast. Thank you guys for listening so much. I went to play basketball yesterday, and it was cool. I went downtown to Vivint Smart Home Arena where the Jazz play, and I got to play on that court. And it was a lot of fun. But when I got home, I opened up my Twitter feed, because I sometimes will do that, and to see what Donald Trump posts. And there was this rant about illegal wiretapping and Obama doing it. And so I was intrigued by this story, because Donald Trump has got to be one of the stupidest people in the world to do this. So let me kind of break that down a little bit. I guess it started when Breitbart posted an interview, and I've got a quote from Breitbart in the story that he apparently got upset about and tweeted at like 4 or 5 in the morning. Is Robert Barnes, Obama encouraged deep state de facto coup against Donald Trump. And just one of the quotes, I'll read the opening statement. On Friday, Breitbart News Daily Sirius XM hosted Alex Marlowe asked attorney Robert Barnes about the campaign of leaks designed to damage the Trump administration, described by some observers as deep state career bureaucrats and or holdovers from the Obama administration acting as saboteurs. Marlowe wondered if there was any legal recourse for the Trump administration to halt this operation. And so he kind of describes what he thinks is going on. As I mentioned the other day to a liberal lawyer friend of mine, the worst thing ever accused concerning Nixon was about his use of private resources to try and illegally spy on people. Here you have Obama's people using NSA to spy on his adversaries, apparently, including the CIA, the FBI, and members of the Department of Justice in that loop. In a manner that was not approved by any court, that was not approved by even the FISA court, the special court that monitors the certain kinds of surveillance. Just because the conversation involves foreign officials doesn't allow you to illegally tape it or illegally monitor it or illegally record it when a U.S. citizen is on there, particularly when it's your political adversary. So Donald Trump extrapolated from this conversation that he was being illegally wiretapped. So here it goes. Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Towers just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. Just out the Russian is it legal for a sitting president to be wiretapping a race for a president prior to election? Turned down by a court earlier. A new low. I bet a good lawyer can make a great case out of the fact that President Obama was tapping my phones in October just prior to the election. How low does a President Obama have to tap or have gone to tap with 2 P's because he can't spell tap my phones during this very sacred election process? This is Nixon Watergate bad or sick guy.
Bad or sick guy.
Yeah. And there were other ones that came out. I guess they've been deleted because there were 7. But he just went on this Twitter rampage early in the morning, and again, supposedly it's from that Breitbart news story. But okay, so let's pause for a second and just kind of think about what he did. So he got information, and I have to believe it's just the Breitbart story because he hasn't been able to substantiate this claim in any way that Obama was wiretapping his phones while he was running for president. So in order to wiretap a phone, you have to have a court sign off on it. Which apparently the XM radio guy is saying, the lawyer involved is saying that they didn't have those approvals. Which, if it's the case, then yeah, what Obama did was outside of the realm of the law. But there's nothing to substantiate that ever happened. But what that probably means, because there are news stories that go on to say, yeah, there was an application for that type of wiretap on Trump Towers. It doesn't say on Trump specifically, but on Trump Towers. But that means that there was an investigation of some sort going on at the time. Now, if you're being charged with a crime, here's what I recommend you don't do. You don't go onto your Facebook and start posting about how, the police force is after me. I can't believe the police force is looking into me. Because that brings attention to the investigation. It totally draws out attention to the investigation. And this is Donald Trump's Twitter. So now everybody now knows that there was some sort of investigation. And now the Freedom of Information Act allows for news organizations to try and file under that act to try and find out more about the investigation. This is going to blow whatever it was that Obama was looking into wide open, meaning that it's going to put all the cards on the table. And what's interesting about that is that means Donald Trump, if he was having unruly deals with Russians, it's going to draw a lot of attention to that, and we're going to get the files that were involved in that, unless it was secret or top secret or marked as classified. Now, if it was secret, top secret, or marked as classified, what he did was go ahead and release secret, top secret, or classified information to the public, which is against the law. So, there's no good scenario. And now this also invites a lot of room for speculation. He hasn't been speculated that he's been having all these deals with the Russians. And now he just puts that front and center. So I'm having a hard time imagining him making it through this.
So you think this might be his downfall then?
Yes,
Is that
that's the reason why I saved it for last. I don't see any other result. Because to even have that application to apply to get a wiretap, which they did, the prosecutors in that thing must have had a good enough case that they thought they had substantial evidence to charge Donald Trump with a crime in order to apply for that.
Okay.
So what they're looking for,
or someone in the Trump building.
Yeah, someone in the Trump administration or in the Trump building. But so what that means is that there was a criminal investigation going on, and now it's going to be front and center news. And the evidence that they use to try this, what they consider to be substantial evidence, while they're looking for the smoking gun, because that's what a wiretap is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Give you the smoking gun when you have a lot of evidence that there is a smoking gun. We're going to find out what that evidence was, one way or another, and to try and alienate the intelligence community even further. If he thought there were a lot of leaks before, this is just going to become front and center.
Okay.
So now there are lawmakers calling for it, and even Donald Trump's administration is calling for it. This is a story out of USA Today. President Trump called Sunday for a congressional investigation of his claims that predecessor Barack Obama had him wiretapped during last year's election, while critics accused Trump of trying to distract people from an investigation into his own relationships with Russia. Reports concerning a politically motivated investigation immediately ahead of the 2016 elections are troubling, said Spicer in a statement after the day after Trump accused Obama, without evidence, of having Trump Tower wiretapped in connection with an investigation of Russia. Trump is requesting that as part of the investigation into Russian activity, the Congressional Intelligence Committees exercise their oversight and authority to determine whether the executive branch investigative powers were abused in 2016. And then there's one final thing I want to read, and this is from NBC News Analysis, the quiet response to President Trump's explosive claims. And really, it's just one part of this. Ben Sasse made a statement. The president today made some very serious allegations. The informed citizens the informed citizens that a republic requires deserve more information. If there were wiretaps of then candidate Donald Trump's organization or campaign, then it was either with a FISA court authorization or without such authorization. If without, the president should explain what sort of wiretap it was and how he knows this. It is possible that he was illegally taped. On the other hand, if it was illegal FISA, or if it was with a legal FISA court order, then the application for surveillance exists, and that the court found credible. The president should ask that this full application regarding surveillance of the foreign operatives or operations be made available, ideally to the full public and at bare minimum to the U.S. Senate. We are in the midst of a civilization warping crisis of public trust, and the president's allegations today demand the thorough and dispassionate, meaning that separate from political affiliations, attention of serious patriots. A quest for the full truth rather than the knee-jerking partisan must be our guide if we are going to rebuild civic trust and health. So, really, if you're listening and you're a Trump supporter, or anybody, there's really only a handful of things that could be going on, and based on what comes out of it, it should dictate how you act. So either if Obama did illegal wiretapping for purposes of trying to sabotage Donald Trump, Obama should go to prison. I mean, hands down, if he was doing something that illegal, because it is illegal to do that for political purposes.
Yeah, extremely.
He should go to prison. Obama should. Now, otherwise, if Obama did legal wiretapping, then the knowledge of what he was wiretapping for should be made public so that we can decide whether President Trump should be tried for his charges.
Yeah.
Because there must have been charges that were filed in order to get that wiretapping permit. Yeah. Now, if there was an application for it, the reason for that application should be made public. So then Trump can be brought to answer for what he was doing that was illegal or possibly illegal. He should have a full explanation given, and the public should demand no less. And otherwise, Donald Trump, the fourth option is that there was no wiretapping, and Donald Trump is running with this bullshit story from Breitbart, and he obviously is not fit to be president if he's going to take hearsay as reason to get become outraged and try and make a public spectacle out of this. So,
and to request Congress do an investigation over something that possibly is just hearsay bullshit.
Yeah, and most likely that application took place, and Donald Trump was and Donald Trump or somebody in his party or somebody at Trump Towers has some nefarious actions going on, and he should answer for those. Like this Russia story is not going to go away, and I didn't think that this would be a big deal. I honestly did not think there would be substantial ties to Russia because I didn't think that he was that stupid. But I mean, go to show my skepticism should have been more on the spot there, because obviously there's something going on.
Yeah, I'm a little reluctant to say anything on it. I just hope whatever there is, or if there isn't anything there, it can come out into the light, and we can, like you're saying, the public has the right to see whatever the hell is going on.
Yeah, and there's just too many coincidences. Like, he won't release his tax returns. Why not? Several people, at least two people have left his campaign or been fired from his campaign. Flynn and what's his name, who was doing it before, because of ties to Russia. And now Jeff Sessions is under heat because he lied to Congress about his activity with Russia. This just there's way too many coincidences for this to be nothing.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
And it'll become public, and it'll become front and center very soon.
I'm very interested to see what it all is.
Yeah, well, and what's weird is we might end up with the President Orrin Hatch.
What?
If Pence has any knowledge of this, and there's a trial and Trump gets impeached, Pence would be the next in line. But if Pence had any knowledge of it, he should be removed from office too. The third in line to become president of the United States is Senator Orrin Hatch.
Ugh.
So we have a President Orrin Hatch. And then that would also implicate several other people in the cabinet. So Orrin Hatch would probably have to start with a clean slate.
That would be insane if that happened.
Yeah. This would literally be the biggest thing to hit political news that we've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
Crazy. Alrighty, guys. Well, remember to check out our other YouTube channels, The Evil Atheist, and Atheist is plural. Check out ZZZ Giant Awake, and he's a giant. He's 6'6",
and he's awake.
Barely.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/The Evil Atheist. You can email us at recklesslyskeptical@gmail.com, and we are now on Stitcher. So download Stitcher, download Spreaker, listen to us wherever it's easiest for you. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Share it with your friends.
So we're just going to play out a clip. It's Alex Jones, and he wants you to know that he's sorry for his outburst. So he freaks the fuck out and then says sorry or excuse me after.
He's trying to be a better version of himself.
After every single outburst, he apologizes. So I think he thinks it's okay to have an outburst and threaten someone if you apologize right afterwards.
Yeah. We'll let the clip speak for itself from there. But until next time, think passionately.
Thanks.
We're going to beat your ass. You just get that through your stinking traitorous heads. Excuse me, I apologize. We have a lot of Christian affiliates. I am a Christian. But I will stomp your head in if you start a fight with me, you thug scum. Anyways, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Bunch of cowards. Excuse me. I'm going to control myself right now. She is a demon damned to hell. Excuse me. I've been trying to control myself, trying to be professional about this. But at a certain point, I'm just really getting pissed. Excuse me. We're not going to have Pepsi with baby flavoring in it. I mean, what the hell have we become? Excuse me. If I didn't have a liberal from New York in the bathroom, I couldn't wipe my ass. Excuse me. I apologize. We have a family audience. That was wrong, and I won't do it again. You think I'm a coward like you? I'm sorry. You dishonorable, cowardly pieces of garbage. Excuse me. Coming for you. Coming for you. We know what you're doing. I'm sorry. Piles of manipulative, lying crap. Excuse me. They're going to burn in hell. Excuse me. This is a time bomb. Excuse me. You're a big tough guy, buddy? You just rammed into me? How do you like that? Now hit me in the face and see what happens, punk. I'm sorry. There's an attack on the species by a guild of psychopaths, and they must be defeated.